All right, folks, just getting going real quick here.
Can you go downstairs and get me my scissors, please? Okay. Downstairs? Downstairs? Down the step? Where did you put them? They should be sitting on the table. Oh, found them. That's not how you carry scissors. When you carry scissors, you hold them like this. Point it down.
For me, the stained glass. Actually, I took a stained glass class in high school, and I just decided to start doing it again. And what I'm gonna do once I get all these done, I've got a 3D printer ordered, and I'm gonna make custom 3D printed frames for these. Hope that answers your question. All right, I'm trying to think. Oh, glasses. Where did I put my glasses? That's what I'm.
Oh, put them on the table.
Just trying to make sure I have everything ready here. That's why I got a 10-minute timer. There's always something I forget.
That's fine.
I have no idea where they wandered off to. I know that, John.
They wouldn't be on my table because I was using my table. Yes, John.
No? Oh well, I'll just open another package and they'll show up.
That's usually how it works.
They didn't happen to get inside there, did they? Oh, under John's blanket. Check under John's blanket. No? Okay.
And no, they're not in there either. I have no idea what. I mean, I know you were wearing them.
I got into 3D printing because I literally stumbled into a channel called Maker's Muse on YouTube. And he introduced me to the 3D printing nerd, Joel Telling, and between the two of them, they got me interested in the technology. It's a really neat technology. But it's not really for mass manufacturing. 3D printing shines when you want to do one-offs or custom stuff, which is essentially what I'm going to be doing with the frames on these guys. And I like the 3D design in CAD, Fusion 360. But that's all because of watching the Maker's Muse videos, and then the rest of the interest watching in the 3D printing nerd, Joel Telling. All right. Let's get rid of that. All right. One of these days I'll get a custom overlay. So I've been posting links to this every now and again. But this is the current window I'm working on for a streamer named Spooner Sloth. He's a Really awesome dude, funny. It's got a great community behind him. So this is my second project. My first project was for Fun King 3D. And those are on, that one's on hold until I can finish up my, well, I need to receive my 3D printer, but I also need a better soldering iron. I need one that's a little higher wattage because the little soldering iron I have is okay, but it just can't keep up with the volume that I need it to. So Justicar, sorry, I missed the question in between. I use Fusion 360. You can use SolidWorks. A lot of the guys that model more organic models use either Mesh Mixer or Blender. That one's good for your organic models. Fusion 360 is a little better for your geometric and structural designs. But there's a ton of other CAD programs. A good free one to learn on that's easy to learn because it's literally like working with building blocks is Tinkercad. That's also an AutoCAD program. Fusion 360 is free, but it's free for hobbyists, small business startups, I believe, students, and like educational institutions. So if you have a big business, they do have a license you have to pay for. Justicar says greetings, Krista. She's only half here. Her other half, the other half of her brain is into baking right now, Spritz cookies. She's trying to get that going. I'm gonna go ahead and remove my thumbtacks. I've got enough glass around the picture now that it's not going anywhere. Alright, so I left off at the top of the horns. We finally got the whole sloth framed in, and now I'm going to work my way down from the top of the horns. I got to find a couple suitable pieces of paper, and we'll make a template. Yeah, sure you're here to help. And just so you know how I got this pattern is Spooner Sloth sent me a file with the picture on it, and I used my copying machine to blow it up. And so that's why it's kind of patchworky, and that's also why it's flawed. Using a home copying machine, when you enlarge something, it doesn't do it perfectly. And so it kind of warps the image, so you can get part of it to match perfectly, and then the other part won't match. So, unless you employ a professional printing service, that's what you have to deal with. But it's nothing that can't be fixed with a little pen and pencil work and with the glass itself. Sometimes. Okay. Sometimes it's hard to, the hardest part is seeing on your pattern the paper beneath. Let me take these off for now. I don't need those until just a minute.
It's winter time?
Are you ready to eat?
Yeah.
Are you hungry?
Yeah. I only want spaghetti.
You just want spaghetti?
Yeah.
No sauce? Some sauce, okay. Huh? Yeah. That good? Sauce? That good? You want cheese? Spaghetti cheese! Silly. Pizza cheese, spaghetti cheese. Right? Cheese for anything. There you go. Here. Eat it for a minute. Annie, if you're still in the house. There you go.
Alrighty, this is going to be a really big piece. I apologize, I have a hard time drawing, or tracing and talking.
Did you get the part about
Well, high resolution pictures sure help, but they can be, not the best quality. Also, there are pattern books out there you can get from various glass shops, Hobby Lobby, whatever. So, a pattern book will all have patterns in there already that are a little easier to deal with.
show what pattern the books look like?
Yeah, my wife's now going to fetch a pattern book. So, but yeah, in this case, he just sent me his logo, and you see, the original size, and then I printed it out on my printer, so the quality of me blowing it up is more dependent on my printer capability than anything else. But there's a pattern book, just one of several I have acquired. And it'll show you the smaller pictures which you can keep to blow up, but in the back it'll have bigger versions that you can fold out. But you always keep the originals because the fold-out ones only last so long, and then you have to figure out a way to replace them, and then the easiest way is just to recopy them and scale them up as you need. But I could work off of drawings. In theory, I could work off of photos, although there would be a lot of work involved in that just because you would have to break the pattern up so that it's actually doable in the glass, because there's limitations in the angles and the curves that you can cut. For the most part, this sloth is doable. We're going to have to take a little bit of artistic license, like these eyebrows here. That curve won't be quite that sharp just because I don't have a saw. All I've got is a grinder, and the grinder wheel is bigger than that. So it's not going to be quite the same. It'll just be close. If I had a grinder, I could be a lot more exact with it. Or, I mean, a saw. If I had a saw, I could be more exact with it. But I make do with what we've got. Even the most basic saws out there run about $300. That was the cheapest one I found. The grinders aren't cheap either. Your run-of-the-mill grinder is $100 or $160, so it's not a cheap hobby to get into. But fortunately, once you have the equipment, it tends to last a long time if you do basic maintenance and take care of it even just a little bit. It's fairly hardy equipment. Oops, I've got it too high now. Finding, because I'm standing way over here, finding the perfect angle for my laptop is an issue for me. In just a second, I'll find a piece once I finish cutting this out. Hopefully that fits it. Once I find a piece that fits it, we'll be cutting it. I guess I didn't have any smaller pieces of that. And those are too small. One thing about glasswork is you always save your scraps. I've got a box full of scraps. You never know when they'll come in handy. But for a piece this big, right now I don't have a scrap piece that will fit this. So I'll continue working on this pane that we started cutting from earlier. And basically the name of the game is just try to match it up as close as you can and then cut it off as close as you can, so you try to save as much glass as possible. But again, scraps are never worthless. I can either make the smaller ones into small squares and do a mosaic later, or they might magically be the right size for a tiny piece that I need down the road. You just never know till you get there. And so that's why you always save your scraps. But the 3D printing community is one of those things that I just keep finding more and more awesome people to watch. It started off with Maker's Muse and Joel Telling. Soon it branched off to include Jatman, who has his own 3D printing channel on YouTube and Twitch. He streams quite often on Twitch. Also, there's 3D Maker Noob on YouTube, 3D Fun King on YouTube, The Happy Extruder. They're just really tons of good people. Well, yeah, and then there's channels like Make Anything that you're thinking of. Make It with Calvin. Um, Devin. Devin at Make Anything. Now, his focus is 3D printing, but he does all kinds of projects. And generally, there's some element of 3D printing in there because he does so much. But like the last video we watched, he made a little terrarium. He helped his sister, I think he said it was, if I remember right. Girlfriend. That's what it was. I knew it was a lady. I'm so bad.
That's what I'm for.
But anyway, he helped her build a terrarium, and it was like a seaside scene with a little lighthouse. But the terrarium, I would estimate the entire size of the terrarium wasn't much bigger than a large softball.
The panda thing you did with what's her name the other year for Mother's Day.
The dinosaur things the kids did.
The
with the fishbowl and stuff?
yeah, the fishbowl. Yeah, that's a terrarium type. I hate that sound, even though I know what it is. I hate the sound.
And it did it again.
It didn't break right.
Nope. I'm starting to really not like this gray. I mean, it's still usable, but
It's not breaking the way you want it.
at least it came off. I'm starting to...
Katie Cake says this is going to look so amazing when it's
Hey, Katie Cakes, welcome to the channel. I know you followed me a while ago, but it's nice to have you here. Got all sorts of awesome people in channel today. Justicar and Katie Cakes. I don't know what to do.
Be happy.
Well, obviously.
You done? Did you go wash your hands and face?
All right. Try this again. Now that I've got this strip cut out, the next one hopefully will go easier. Yeah, this is gonna look like I've told Spooner Sloth, and I've said it on Twitter and even in his Discord a couple of times. This is gonna be epic when it's completed.
Unless you're at the right angle, child.
Hey, you. I need an edge. I want edge.
And it's like anything else, painting or whatever. Half of the interest in it is with the subject, but this is going to turn out to look really good.
Make the gray avocado.
Yeah, there's always that.
What you making, Daddy? A little bit lighty.
But so there are elements to this process that are creative, but once you start doing it, the forming of it is very mechanical, which is why I can do this, because I can't draw to save my life. I don't have in junior high I did art class with the pottery making and all the good stuff that you get in art class, and I'm not good at any of it. And magically, stained glass came along, not from art class, but by a class of itself, and I was good at it somehow. I'm not good at any other art form.
Just another use says, I don't have the sheer force of will for this. I will stick with Cody.
And I don't have the brain power for coding, so we're even, just a car. just recutting my template out here and re-glue it back down to the glass that I cut a strip of. And I'm sorry if I get quiet. Sometimes I tend to concentrate a little too much, so
That's what I'm for.
that's what my wife is here for. And hopefully between her and I we can keep up with chat. Feel free to ask any questions. I will do my best to answer them.
Bring me two. And then when you're done, bring me two for Daddy. Please.
So let me get that closer so you can see the pattern fits pretty well. So we'll throw it back on this piece of glass. Set the chunk to the side. It'll probably become useful later.
No, we have another slate of it, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We might have to get a couple more.
Just put it down. Here, why don't you go put them on Daddy's cup holder? Please don't take it. Do you sell pieces based on size or integrity or?
It's a mixture of size and basically the difficulty of the design, because how difficult the design is coupled with the size will determine how much time I have in it, and that's where most of the cost comes from. The glass panes I'm using are anywhere between $7 a square foot and $13 for some of the most expensive stuff.
The expensive one was 15.
Okay, I've been corrected by my wife. The most expensive was $15, but I think the average is around like $9 or $10 a square foot.
That was the average.
So it really depends on the subject, what color glass I need, the price of the glass, and then my time.
And we need to state that your time is between jobs.
Yes, and the reason I've been mad dashing at this and the last project for the last few weeks is because of my job. I am often not home, and especially this particular project, this loft that we're working on, I cannot take it with me. It is too big. So I have to do it when I'm home, and I'm hoping to get it done before I go on the road again. At least soldered. Or at least cut. It doesn't even have to be soldered.
No, because we can be careful about the table behind us. It's just.
But once I go back on the road, I won't be working on this again for quite a while.
Who knows when.
Oh, I actually I work for the USDA Food Safety Inspection Service. I'm a relief consumer safety inspector. So in my other life, I was an Army cook for 10 years, right out of high school in the Colorado National Guard. So it wasn't full time or anything. Did go to Iraq in 06-07. I do have a 10% disability from the VA. I kind of hurt my neck and my shoulder, probably lifting. We call it Mermite chow. They use Cambros now, but Mermites were the old container system for hot meals. But the point is that they're heavy, and you know, we spent a year in country, and every day I was delivering empty mermites to the chow hall and picking up the full ones and loading them in and out of the truck. And that's where I'm assuming I kind of messed up my neck and my shoulder, because that's all I did. I never left base or anything. I just made sure that my guys in our medevac company were fed. My job was to deliver chow to them, because even though we were on base, their location on the base, they were more than 10 minutes drive away from the nearest chow hall. And if you know anything about the military and 9 lines and everything, medevac, I think it's 9 minutes they have to be up and in the air from the initial call for medevac.
After you're done, go wash your hands and your face. Let's see.
So that's why they had chow delivered to them, because they had to be at the ready at all times. We had a whole area where we could set it up, and it was basically like a regular chow line in a cafeteria or whatever, except for we didn't have any steam tables. Everything came out of a mermite, but we did have refrigerators for those box juices. We had several coolers that we kept full of ice for Gatorade and stuff. So it wasn't like super Spartan. It was just a little bit redneck.
One thing he says is something like this with the video of it being handmade by a person to my wife. That's solid gold right there. And then
Cool.
back to what you were talking about, I did some years in the Navy. Disability helps so much with the rest of your life. I am sorry that happened to you, but I'm glad the military helps take care of the injured.
Yeah. And it's like everything, you know, just since you're a veteran, you know the heartaches that we have with the VA and stuff sometimes, but the military does take care of its own for the most part. And I'm thankful for that. And I wouldn't trade the experience for anything.
No.
And most of us wouldn't, from what I know.
When it's in the bag, you leave it in the bag. Got it? You understand me, Harold? Put it back in the bag and leave it alone. Oh, let's see.
And there are plenty of guys that have it much worse off than I do. So,
He says he didn't get disability, but yes, he heard the stories.
yeah, it kind of depends on which hospital you get stuck with. Quite frankly, there are good ones and bad ones.
Montgomery was okay.
Well, Montgomery had to be good because our representative was Martha Roby, and one word to Martha, and she'd be down there kicking some VA administration butt.
That's true. I forgot.
She is or when we were down there, she's always been good for the veterans. Whether you agree with her on anything else or not, that is one thing that you can't argue that she's good about. Noise command, please.
Upset at the moment?
Mom,
Yes, honey.
can I get my out? Please?
Excuse me?
There we go. All right, let's look at this fit.
We found your glasses.
Oh, my old glasses?
Your other pair of glasses. We were fixing the loose paper and it was in the mess of loose paper.
Not bad. Not bad at all. We can go with that.
Just leave it. Let it go. Just let it go. Harold, leave it. Leave it. No. Stop.
I just got to move some things around so we can
I can, but I
get
can't
the
because
camera. So I usually don't show the bath on camera, but just so you know what I'm doing, I'm dunking the piece in water so it will release the glue stick.
because you're out here. And when they're presents for you boys, you don't need to see
Attempt to align the camera before I sit down, and then I'll fine tune it. Also, the water bath is two-purpose. Even if I was doing a piece that didn't require a template, I would need to give it a short bath because it washes off the excess glass particles that are clinging to the sides that we just ground off. And if you don't do that, the copper foil, this won't stick. It's got an adhesive side to it that you stick to the glass. Have a towel here so I can gently wipe the gook off.
This is 50 stocking fillets for kids. Cute soaps, felt tip pens, stickers, CD, poster, iTunes voucher, personalized Santa chocolate bar, glitter, character toothbrush, candy necklace, fruit, disposable camera, coloring book, toy car, fun pencils, erasers.
One thing I haven't talked about in this stream, I have talked about before, but depending on what I'm doing, I do keep the grain of the glass in mind. You can kind of see it on film there, how it has a grain to it. Sometimes well, in this case as well, the positioning of how I cut the piece will take into consideration the natural grain. Well, if you can call it natural, since this is, I mean, glass is man-made, so, but anyway, I think you know what I mean. But then again, sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes, like you'll see in a minute, but this black, it's just black. There is no grain, so then you don't have to worry about it. And sometimes, instead of a grain, and I'll show you an example, instead of a grain, you have a texture. So texture can be a consideration.
Says that's cool. That's pretty cool.
I do have a Instagram. It should be pretty easy to find. It's Renaissance_Tinker_Dork. You can look at my previous project and my posted pictures on this project. But you can see I used that gold on the Fun King crown, and the texture on it worked out perfectly because it made the crown look like it had a hammered out effect. So it kind of looked like hammered metal.
You got food stuck up there?
And I apologize, I did have timers and stuff set up in the old Ankbot, and it decided to die this morning, and I haven't had time to add my timers back into the new bot that I'm using. So I do apologize for that. But the links to most everything except for my Instagram are in the panels in my channel if you're curious. One of the things I don't have yet is a Discord. I don't see a reason to have a Discord for myself yet, and even if I did, I wouldn't know what to do with it. But that could change. It will change eventually, I'm sure. But when I go down that road, I will probably need a community manager or something to handle the technical side of things, because I'm just winging it on the technical side of stuff.
We'll find them, okay?
I'm trying not to concentrate on this too much, but the copper foil is only so wide, and I'm trying to keep it centered so that I have overhang on both sides.
And you were literally off camera on both cameras.
Oh, of course. Up just a little bit, and then work out. There we go. That should be doable.
All we see is your bald head on one screen, and
Oh yeah, I need to bring that down and over. I always forget to move my laptop because this webcam is on my laptop. The other webcam is on a long USB cord, which is why I can move it around, put it where I need it.
it says, well, they aren't hard to set up, and I think you're right to take it slow.
Well, thank you.
It's usually best to go slow than it is to go fast. Any kind of craft making.
That's true. Well, yeah, my wife just brought up a good point, and especially on the creative side of Twitch, the growth happens at a much slower rate, and then kind of you get to a point, and then it kind of explodes a little bit, and then it flattens back out. So until I get to where I have a decent amount of regulars, I'm really not gonna worry about the Discord and all that stuff. I've got Muxy set up. I could have a cheer cup, but obviously I can't use that until I become an affiliate, so that's on hold.
Stop. Oh, okay. Stop. I'm the one who moved everything. Okay? You're not listening again. Are you, Harold?
Just using my fingers to gently bend over the edges of the foil.
Well, that siding really makes it pop. Your foil.
Oh, yes. Don't get used to the color. Once I solder it, it'll go silver. Now, I could patina. There is patina that you can buy that can bring it back to copper. It's a copper, quote-unquote, patina. You can also do a black patina. I even had something I didn't know about. My local glass shop said that one of her customers, made an order with her to get some silver patina, which I didn't know existed, because basically once you solder it, you can just leave it as the solder color, and there you go, you've got silver.
And it says you just use standard non-lead based solder?
Yes and no. On my last piece, all I had was the 6040 lead tin solder, so I used that, but it's going to get a patina anyway, and I mean that one's meant to be like a photo frame and hang on the wall. So, unless you're like trying to serve meals off of it, it's really not that hazardous, except for when you're doing the soldering. The fumes can be a little hazardous, but um, really the level of exposure is not that great. But generally, I do use the lead-free solder. This one's going to have the lead-free solder because it's a gigantic window. It's going to go in a window, and it's potentially going to get touched by Spooner Sloth's kids. And I did learn on the lead-free solder. It's just when I started the other one, all I had was the 60/40 lead tin stuff. And again, you put the patina on it, and that's kind of a layer of protection. As long as you're not using it to eat with, it's really not that big of a deal. But yes, I did buy some non-lead solder for this one.
You have a rabbit at your feet.
Okay.
No.
No?
No, now she just came out from underneath the couch.
I was gonna say she kind of likes that shortcut.
Sit.
Alrighty. Here we go.
Will you stop?
And this has got to come back around.
I'm not saying you can't move it, don't quit. I much prefer lead solder. It moves so much better, but such is life. I don't know you could even buy lead still.
Yeah, you can buy 60/40 lead solder. They sell it. Actually, they still sell it in glass shops, and of course you can get the what do they call it? The flux core stuff, the really tiny stuff for electronics still. Obviously, the risks with the electronics is even less. The main risks are the fumes. You're not going to eat with it, so you're not going to ingest it.
Harold, get off the floor.
And with lead, that would be the main concern is if you're getting it ingested somehow.
He uses it for electronics.
Yeah, and a lot of people do. It's not just you. One of the channels that I frequent. He's his channel name is Shep 3D. Hang on, I can't.
3D ship. Yeah.
It's Shep. If you look, CHEP.
Yeah, CHEP 3D. Yeah.
Ah, and I'm off. Dang it. Fortunately, it's fixable.
What happened?
Oh, I was off on the paper. I started the paper in the wrong spot.
Just pile.
But anyway, he still uses 60/40. So you're not the only one.
Right there.
There we go.
Well, I think he wants the white cord. Here, go buy one.
But it isn't on PlayStation. It is too much.
Well, take him that white cord. On my desk.
All right. What on earth?
What?
The chair. There we go. Actually, speaking of selling it, it's at Hobby Lobby.
Look, I don't know what he wants. No, don't eat that. No, you didn't like it. And I told her no. Let me just put it down on the loose.
Purple bunny on the loose.
I don't know if you guys hear my wife, but our killer rabbit's on the loose.
I don't know what he wants, John. Okay, we're looking at your box.
Well, it's almost right. I sat down so my back wouldn't hurt quite so much.
Yeah, this much is of your fingers we see. We can see the
Yeah, I just adjusted it. It should be better.
Don't try it.
I mean, I'm only cutting a piece of paper, so you know,
Don't try that.
it's not super exciting stuff.
Abby, tell him.
There we go. Now I can see you.
I would have been next to
Let her go. She's trying to get away. Stop. Stop. See how much grass she has.
Grandma.
Grass is still good.
And my paper scraps are kind of like my glass straps. I hang on to them until, well, for the paper scraps until it's obvious that I can't use them, which sometimes takes a while. There's the template. Seems to be pretty right on. Sometimes with the smaller templates, like I might have a problem with this next black piece and this one. The smaller, longer templates, since I use paper to trace with, sometimes they stretch more than I need them to. And when that happens, then you'll grind it down to match the pattern, and then you'll take it and it won't match at all. Which is another thing you kind of learn how to deal with after the fact.
Put it in her. Don't tease her with it. Why don't you put it in her kennel? Put it in her kennel.
You can
That's what she wants. Put it in her kennel. Just no.
Alright, so we got it glued on there. I'm going to trim some of the excess off.
Leave her alone. Yes, you can go to Brad's room.
Yeah. I'll just tell Bri to keep them in there for a few minutes. Whatever you need, dear. But he won't know if you don't tell him. Are you serious? I hate this gray glass. I really do. This is too big of a piece to waste.
Whack my passing out of the base of the bin. Let's see. Hi, Ian. Alright, well, this is pretty cool. I will check back in after some more housework. Have fun.
Okay, have fun.
Housework for you. Okay. Well, since I don't have a whole lot of presents under there, I'm gonna put games underneath. I think Danny's gonna fall in love with this. It was funny. Literally the day after we bought the mousetrap,
Uh-huh.
they were showing a commercial of it.
Nice. Alright, so I'm just gonna go with it because this gray is being non-cooperative. He's just gonna have a cracked horn. And it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Oh, I forgot to ask for noise and move the camera. turn that off for a second. I'm just gonna break this free up here, or try to. The idea for some of this trimming is to save wear and tear on the grinder as well as saving glass. So this cut right here is a little bit of both, if I can get it to cut right. I'll take it. There we go. And that's as close as I dare, because I've been having problems with this particular color ever since I started working with it. Noise.